welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Nancy. My pronouns are she and her and hers. We are so glad that you have chosen to be here, virtually and in person. Our minister, Reverend Michelle Buhite, is on sabbatical leave through August. Services during this time will include guest speakers from near and far, and assistance from the sabbatical team, thoughtfully assembled by Reverend Michelle, and even more assistance from our tech crew, our greeters, weavers, ushers, musicians, and coffee makers. We seek to create a safe and inviting space for all who enter this sanctuary of UU Amherst. For those in the chapel, I invite you to put your phones on reverence mode, silencing them so that you and all may be fully present and free from distraction. We also ask that you become aware of the closest exits in case of a fire or emergency, the double doors at the back of each side of the chapel. There's a single door behind this tapestry on the left. Prefer that we have a small group that you exit that way. In addition, for the little ones who need to move around during the service, there is an expansive area in the back of the chapel. At the left, flow through our atrium, dining room, and living room that provide space and activities. Today we will engage in the practice of singing the children out after the time for all ages. We will begin a series of ecology workshops led by members Eve Tulbert, the STEAM educator, and Elizabeth Leader, naturalist and artist. We'll explore our outdoor campus with short hikes, science research, and nature apps, and maps for learning. Look for participants after the service during coffee hour and to explain our questions and findings. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on land that was once nurtured and cherished by the First Nation people of this region, the Haudenosaunee, and the people known as the Neutrals before them. May we continue to tend this cherished land and courteously and courageously cultivate community with all living things. It's been said that Unitarian Universalism is a religion that puts its faith in you, trusting each individual to engage in the spiritual journey and to reach our conclusions about spiritual matters. We do that in beloved community as we support one another in faith and friendship. In that spirit, this congregation has created a covenant, a sacred promise of how we will strive to be with one another. Please join me in speaking our covenant. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. We begin each gathering by lighting the chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Our flaming chalice represents the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment to foster more compassion and justice in a hurting world. Thank you, Sam. Please join me in speaking these words. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Each of us carries with us into this worship time cares and concerns, joys and sorrows. Together we create the container where we can put down our burdens, knowing they are held gently by this gathered community. For those joining virtually, I invite you to give voice to that which is on your heart, or perhaps type it into the chat in the live stream. For those here in the chapel, I invite you to come forward and place a stone or a shell on the table labyrinth in recognition of that which is on your hearts. We also light a candle for our larger community. This candle is a reminder that in hard times, our ancestors in faith acted with courage to bring hope and safety to bring life itself to threatened people. We light it today as a reminder of who we are called to be in a world still dangerous and despairing. With courage and faith, we bring ourselves to the work before us. Let's join together singing Filled with Loving Kindness, hymn number 1031 in the teal hymnal, and the words will be projected on the screen, accompanied by Phil Mann. It's my pleasure to welcome back John Snodgrass. He teaches courses about myth, ritual, critical thinking at Canisius and Medaille colleges. He is the author of Chaos and Supernatural Shakespeare, Myth and Ritual in Merry Old England. He and Elizabeth live in Buffalo with their 4 children. I'd like to invite him up for our opening words.
Good morning. Well, it's wonderful to see you all again. Welcome to this place which we make holy by our presence. These doors are open to all. We welcome diverse ideas of the source of life, diverse needs, diverse abilities. Bring your brokenness and bring your power. Your fears and anxieties, loves and hopes, for here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, where the human is celebrated and compassion is strength. Welcome to this place. Together, we make it a holy place.
Time for all ages. I love that part of the service. This is for small people, and people young at heart. So if you would like to come forward, if there's anybody young at heart that wants to come, or if you want to stay in your seats, what's the preference? Looks like staying in the seat wins. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story. I love to go camping. And one time when I was planning to go camping, I told all my friends, and they thought they would do something very special for me. Everybody bought cans of food, and then the funny thing was they took the labels off, and they gave me a big basket full of canned food without labels. Well, the first morning I was really kind of hungry, and I thought, well, let me see, what's in here? I shook one, I thought, okay, let's try this. Chicken noodle soup, nah, not for breakfast. All right, let's try this one, this doesn't make any noise. Refried beans, nah, not in the mood for that. So I pulled out something else, saved those for another time. The thing about cans of food, I don't like my cans of food without labels. It was fun once. But when I go to the grocery store, I want to know that there's a label on it. It tells me that this is pineapple chunks, 100% pineapple juice. It tells me how many ounces, gives me all the nutritional information. But the most important thing, it gives me the ingredients. Pineapple juice. So I know that when I pop this tab, there's not going to be a frog that jumps out. Hopefully it's going to be pineapple. I wish it was so easy with people. When we look at people, or we listen to people, everybody comes into this world with different shades of skin, different hairstyles, different hair colors. Some people have fancy body jewelry. Some people wear certain kinds of clothes. Others wear different clothes than what we're used to. Some people wear glasses, some people wear them on and off, like when you get older, there's never the right place. Can't quite see out of either one of them sometimes. Don't get older. Well, do, it's a good thing. So when I think about people, we use pronouns, she, hers, he, his, they, them. We use names. We use all kinds of ways to identify ourselves, but when I look at people, I want to make sure, for me, and I think it's a good practice, not to put a label on that person or judge that person for their appearance, where they grew up, where they live, if they have money or no money. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to make connections in this world. So I invite you, young at heart, all of us, to remember to make a connection today. Find somebody that you don't know really well. Find a connecting point and learn who they are on the inside, because the ingredients aren't listed on the outside, like on a label of pineapple. It doesn't say kind, compassionate, advocate, justice worker, person of faith. It doesn't say any of those things on my shirt. Sometimes I wear shirts that do tell you a little bit more about me, but most of the time our ingredients only come out when we share conversations and really get to know people. So that's my invitation for today. So we will sing our faith development activity leaders and participants out with the song Go Lift It Up, 1057 in the Teal hymnal. So now I invite John to come back up with a reflection for us.
Well, good morning. My daughter recently turned 13, and that is how I became the father of a teenage girl. Teenagerness doesn't start all at once in one day. She's already been a teen for a year and a half. She stopped laughing at my jokes. That's the first sign. I try to make her smile. She turns away, scowling. Sometimes I do catch her. I say something silly or I say something nice to her. I turn away, but then I kind of look back over my shoulder, and I can see like a little smile, a little smirk from the corner of my eye. But that's all I get. So here I am today, hoping to find out if saying silly things or saying nice things can still make people smile. My daughter, Connor, is mad at me. I can tell, but it's hard to figure out why. I mean, yeah, she does consider being on the dish rotation to be a form of exploitation. And never mind that I do dishes too, so does Jackson, so does Elizabeth. We all take turns. The kitchen sink is an equal opportunity employer. Guys do half the dishes, girls do half the dishes. So Connor has decided to be genderless. She goes by her middle name now and expects us to be shocked, but we gave her that name so that she could have a choice. Also, we named her after Sarah Connor, a really tough, self-reliant character who fights futuristic robots. She gets sulky, she's mad at us, we can't figure out why. We're really pretty cool and affirming. We've concluded it's because we're not oppressive enough. We're not stamping our feet and gnashing our teeth and drawing lines in the sand, whatever. We're not careless or overly permissive. We're serious about safety. But gender stuff, identity stuff, we're cool about that. You can be any gender you want, as long as you look both ways before crossing the street, and the sink isn't full of dishes the morning after it's your turn to wash. Connor's also mad because she wants to be they. She wants to be they, but I can't do it. Not because of a gender thing, but because they is plural to me. And as a dad, I'm responsible for the safety of every kid in the house. So I have to know precisely how many are in there at all times. And if a building is burning down and someone shouts, "They is still inside," I can't stand there saying, "What do you mean they is?" How many kids am I running into this burning building looking for? She drew this picture. She has a friend who is a they. And that's fine, but one day she asked after school, can they come over? I said, no, it's a school day. You can have one friend. We're not throwing a party. Then I found out that they was one person. Anyway, I told Connor, you can go by your genderless middle name. I support you, but choose your battles. Don't fight the English language. Connor wants an external enemy, an oppressive dictator to subvert and challenge and whatever, throw a dish at. And I just don't feel like shouting and picking up dish fragments. And breaking a dish does not mean we're switching to paper plates. Don't take it out on Mother Earth. She's at that age, learning about the internal struggle. So am I. No one ever told me. Your inner child doesn't disappear when you grow up. It becomes your dependent. It becomes your kid. I'm helping to raise 4 children, plus my own inner child who needs to be told, no, you can't have another treat. No, you can't stay up another 15 minutes. No, you can't stop and throw a temper tantrum in the middle of the sidewalk. The struggle, the inner conflict, the enemy inside. Fear, desire, sin, temptation, or what some of us would call the id battling the ego and the superego, all of that stuff. So much to deal with. And right at the start of that, it's so overwhelming that it would be easier to choose an external antagonist, a looming father figure, and throw some anger or harsh words or scowls at him. I really get that. But I don't live to be the antagonist in someone else's story. I'm trying to be the hero of my own story, struggling against my own fear and desire and childishness. And then someone else's inner child treats me like some mustache-twirling cartoon villain because that's who they need me to be. Now I'm parenting teenagers, but I can't set a stopwatch and count down to when their struggle for selfhood will be finished. The quest for personal identity never ends because our spirits don't exist in an empty vacuum or a cloudless sky. We exist in relation to other people, parents, friends, enemies, children. We may first become aware of the identity struggle in adolescence when we decide whether to become our parents or not. And we can't. Because times have changed. The crucibles that forged our parents are now rusty antiques. So we struggle to become new people in relation to a new world. But the world is always changing, and we must continually adapt. I struggled to be a unique teenager decades ago. Now I struggle to be an interesting middle-ager. And I try to be a cool dad, but my kids are unimpressed. If I'm around 30 years from now, I'll be struggling to be useful and wise in a world where the knowledge and the methods keep changing. Elizabeth and I don't try to force a set of religious beliefs on our children. We've got enough to deal with. We just tell them that there's a diversity of faith and they should keep an open mind. Every religion involves a struggle with the self, whether it's a struggle to overcome fear and desire, an inner war against sin, a search for personal identity in relation to the land, or a quest for personal identity in relation to some otherworldly other world. It may be a struggle for the spirit to tame the physical primate body, or a struggle to find balance between our angel and animal aspects. In the religions of India, yoga is not just a fitness routine, but a spiritual exercise. Its name is related to the English word yoke. That's Y-O-K-E, a device that you use to connect an animal to a plow. Yoga is about harnessing one's animal body to one's spirit self, so that the body can fulfill the functions necessary for the betterment of society and that individual's spiritual journey. In the Dharma, this quest can take many lifetimes. The spirit self is yoked to one animal body, and then when it wears out or dies, the spirit self gets another. The word reincarnation actually means new meat. The spirit drives a series of these meat machines until it reaches its goal and dissolves into the great well of spirit energy. Buddhism is an offshoot of the Dharma. in which the struggle against personal fear and desire can be won in a single lifetime. In both traditions, the struggle is to find the self so that the self can be overcome. In Judaism, now there's no way to say this that doesn't make it sound like some kind of silliness, but I say this with genuine respect and admiration for my Semitic ancestors. Judaism is famous for all of its quirky laws. And the struggle in Judaism is to stay quirky, to keep these distinctive, idiosyncratic traditions alive. The language, which you have to learn to read backwards from right to left. The picky eating, the distinctive clothing, all that stuff. The struggle day by day, week by week, is to keep oneself from saying, this is really inconvenient. Life would be easier if we became like everybody else. And then there's the struggle of explaining to your children what pork and shellfish have to do with God's love. Someone once asked Jesus, "What must I do to get eternal life?" Jesus asked, "Do you obey all of the laws in the Torah?" The person said, "Yes." Jesus said, "Then all you need to do is give away everything you own and prepare to be nailed to a cross, naked." The man went away sad. But that was Jesus. He was tough as nails, and that's no pun intended, with a dark sense of humor, not ha-ha funny. It was Jewish humor. Gallows humor, or you could say crucifix humor. That rich man should have come back and asked again after Jesus was out of the way. When finally it was discovered that achieving personal spiritual purity was just too hard. And so began the more manageable struggle for the right to persecute others, particularly women. In Islam, the Arabic word jihad means the struggle. It's one of the few Arabic words we all know. We hear about the jihad as the struggle of the believer against the unbeliever, the infidel who tries to thwart the Muslim religion. We hear this word when some act of violence is done by Muslims. But in Islam, that is known as the lesser jihad. The greater jihad is the struggle against the inner infidel, the voice of doubt and temptation that threatens the believer from within. The great struggle in Islam is to be a good Muslim living in total obedience to God, even when it's difficult and even when it's hard to understand. Not all religions are built around this struggle of the spirit against the flesh. Starhawk, a practitioner of Wicca, writes that in patriarchal religions, believers are internally split into a spiritual self that is supposed to conquer the baser animal and emotional natures. They are at war with themselves, she writes, in the West to conquer sin, in the East to conquer desire or ego. Few escape from these wars undamaged. This turns the believer into a battlefield, scorched and scarred. Starhawk writes, the image of the goddess inspires us to see ourselves as divine, our bodies as sacred, the changing phases of our lives as holy, our aggression as healthy, our anger as purifying, and our power to nurture and create, but also to limit and destroy when necessary, as the very force that sustains all life. Through the goddess, she says, we can discover our strength, enlighten our minds, own our bodies, and celebrate our emotions. We can move beyond narrow, constricting roles and become whole. In Wicca, instead of trying to silence fear and anger. The struggle is to find constructive outlets for that energy. And it's no coincidence that religions in which the spirit strives to dominate the flesh are also the religions in which males strive to dominate females. Lately, I've been struggling to cut back on my mansplaining, telling people obvious things in a patronizing tone. And it's really hard because colleges and churches keep asking me to show up and explain things, explain complex things in very simple ways. Plus, I have to do so much dad-splaining with my kids, teaching William to take the wrapper off the candy before it goes in his mouth, teaching my teenagers to go potty before we leave for a walk. If I don't patronize them, they'll never grow up. I went to pick the kids up from school. I was idling in the car line, and I saw a plume of smoke rising from the front of another car. This woman was picking up children, and her engine was on fire. So I popped on my hazard lights, and I hopped out, walked up to her window, and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, your engine's on fire." And she barked, "I know! Everybody keeps telling me that." I backed away, realizing my error. I didn't mean to mansplain about it. It's just that fire and gasoline with a driver and some kids in between struck me as a situation that needed attention. But you can't do someone else's growth for them. The quest for a sense of self is a lifelong struggle. It can be painful and infuriating. It should be challenging. It should also be fun. It teaches us to channel our strengths and acknowledge our limitations. The struggle teaches us who we are. One last little story. I once read about a lepidopterist. That is a scientist who studies butterflies. I read about a lepidopterist who was impatiently waiting for a butterfly to hatch, saw it struggling to break free from its chrysalis, and decided to help by tenderly tweezing the cocoon open. Obviously, this person had the best of intentions. We're talking about the kind of gentle soul who grows up to be a lepidopterist. But that butterfly they assisted never did manage to fly. It turned out that the struggle from the chrysalis is essential to activate the muscles. Fighting its way out gives it the strength to survive. We struggle out of our cocoons. It's something each of us must do. No one can do it for us. We can't do it for anyone else, no matter how much we love and support them. And it's often a struggle to not attempt someone else's growth struggle for them. The struggle gives us strength for our journey. We'll need that strength when we reach the next surprise. That our metaphorical butterfly self is not a perfected final form, but a chrysalis for our next form, whatever that might be. And then the struggle for selfhood continues. Thank you. Please rise in body or spirit. As we raise our voices together, we will sing "Love Will Guide Us," number 131 in the Teal hymnal.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Together, we have sanctified this space. If you have found strength and comfort here, please share some out there. They need it. Remember that you are blessed, and you are a blessing, and you are not alone.
Thank you for joining our gathering today. I hope you have been inspired and uplifted by sharing this time together. You can support the work and mission of this congregation with your financial contributions. For those in the chapel today, you'll find a basket at the back to receive your gifts. For those participating virtually, I invite you to take a moment to visit our website, uuamherst.org, and click on the giving link, or text your gift to 833-987. 1968. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice with these familiar words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we come together again. Let's
Travel light and travel easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. May the road rise up to greet you as you leave your past behind. I will think about you gently, and I'll hold you in my mind. Travel light and travel easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend.
We do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who travel this way with us. So be swift to love and make haste to be kind. Go in peace.